Oh, we're rolling, folks. Back here in the College Basketball Betting Show. Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer here at FTN. Follow me on X at Randle Rant. We are back, refreshed and replenished. You know the deal. We have a lot of picks today, and we also have a huge show tomorrow, 10:30. Make sure you join us. Gus Kearns on X at CKearns12, one of the best basketball minds I've ever met. Joining us tomorrow, my old partner from the Screen to Screener podcast. We're going to go through the games. You know the deal here. Mike Kutry, Frank Brank, Walt Waddell, so many great people here. Matt Joseph's doing picks as well. We have great stuff going on here at FTN. Join us. You see the promo code there, FTN Bets. You go FTN Wins for 10% off here at FTN Bets. We have great content rolling. I'm already playing the stuff for March Madness. You're not going to want to miss it. So a lot of games today. It's very tricky because a lot of these games are before the conference tournament, the conference season starts. Some had a couple games, then they took a break. Now they're going back. So there's a lot of interesting spots here I want to get to today. Yesterday, pretty good, around 500. Had a real nice pick, I thought, with Oregon State. UCLA came back and won. They finally got out of the doldrums there. But we hit a couple nice ones, including, of course, Kevin Willard with Maryland, one of my favorites of all time. So let's get to the games here. Go right across the board. A lot of lines that I like, and you guys know the deal. I always feel better when I have underdogs, and we have a lot of underdogs here that I do like. Let's get started. First pick here, Rider plus 14.5 at Penn State. Now, the reason I'm picking Rider is because they have played much better of late. Rider is one of the biggest disappointments. They were sitting at 1-7, 0-2 in the MAC, 1-7. But since then, they beat Stonehill at home on Friday, December 8th. Nice win there by 18 points. Then they go to Monmouth away, never easy. Hung around in that game, lost by 6. Then Delaware away in overtime, win by 3. Nice job for Kevin Baggett. And then Penn in overtime at home, a loss. A good Penn team. You know the obvious, they're strong this year. So now they're going to Penn State. Do not look at the numbers like we talked about with Coppin State yesterday. They're going to Penn State here, getting a lot of points. What has Penn State done? Well, Penn State started off strong 4-0. Then they've struggled. They had a loss away at Maryland in the conference, and they beat Ohio State on a nice comeback at home, but they were losing for a lot of that game. Then they lose to Georgia Tech on a neutral, and congratulations, they're coming off a win over Lemoyne by 17. So they have Michigan State away coming up next Thursday. This is a sleepy spot, not a lot of teams on campus, and Baggett has coached Rider very well lately, so we are taking them plus the points at Penn State. Next one, Kennesaw State plus 12.5 against Indiana. Now, you know Indiana's deal. They're one of the biggest teams in college basketball. And if you look at their rankings here, yeah, they are third overall tallest in college basketball, but still no Xavier Johnson in his backcourt. And here's a Kennesaw State team that can turn you over. Indiana has a couple things that bother me. One, their backcourt. Two, they only shoot 68% from the free throw line. And number 3, they do not turn you over. Kennesaw State plays at the absolute fastest pace under Antoine Petaway, who's done a great job taking this program over, of anyone in college basketball. They are the fastest. Now, they're not great from the free throw line, but they don't turn the ball over, and they force turnovers. The problem is in this game is if you think Indiana is going to cover, then you think Indiana is going to have their sweet home magic shooting from beyond the arc as they do at Assembly Hall from time to time. I do not. Kennesaw State, 9-4 in the year. Kennesaw State has won some games away. They played Florida State away. They lost that one, but they've had some decent battles. I think they show up here. You know the deal with some of these coaches and teams. I am fading them. I am fading Indiana again here, taking Kennesaw State plus 12.5. I see the picks coming. We're already getting on top here, and we're going to get some comments and get some things going away. Next up, Miami minus 20.5 versus North Florida. Now, a lot of the underdogs I have today I've mentioned, but this is one that I'm actually going to lay the points because I think Miami has turned a corner. We need Miami here to get going, and I think this is a spot that they're actually going to pick it up. In their last game, they really started to look like the old Miami team. They lost to Kentucky, got blown out. Notre Dame at home, they only won by 13. Pounded LAU, nobody cares. Colorado got destroyed on a neutral. LaSalle at home by 7. That was pretty much rock bottom. But they absolutely blitzed Stonehill. They need to get going in the right direction. Larinaga is an excellent coach. They now have Clemson coming up at home next Wednesday. So you would think maybe a sleepy spot, not the way they've been playing. I think they come out and they pound North Florida. I think it's an extension of what happened with Stonehill, and I am fine laying the points here. North Florida, not great. 7-7, lost by 18 away to Mike White in Georgia. Yes, I'm influenced by that. I think Miami is the opposite of a sleepy spot here. I think they have to start playing some good basketball and string some games together. You know all the players that are returning. They want to be primed here for the ACC conference. I think they're going to play very well in this matchup. They already beat Notre Dame, so they're 1-0. They have Clemson coming up, Wake Forest, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Syracuse. So they can get to a nice run here, a good start to the ACC before they get to the powerhouse teams like North Carolina in February, like Duke later on. So they have some time. I think they take advantage of it. You know, I've been fading Michigan all year. I'm going to do so again. McNeese State is going to come in with a lot of confidence in this game. McNeese State, under Will Wade, who has just returned as head coach, has a pretty impressive resume, what they've seen so far. Michigan should have got us to the window against Florida. They gagged it and totally collapsed. They have their Big Ten schedule that they will continue after this game. They lost to Indiana at home. They beat Iowa away by 10. So now they have Minnesota, Penn State, Maryland, those games coming up. They are home here. They're coming off the loss to Florida. The only concern I have is that they come out on fire and they're all fired up. We get through the first 10 minutes. I think we're going to be fine. McNeese State under Will Wade has very quietly rattled off 5 straight wins, including a win at home against Louisiana, who's good. They don't turn the ball over. They're not shooting off from the free throw line, but McNeese State can light it up from beyond the arc, 41% from three-point range. I will take them as a live dog here, getting 10.5. Not one of my strongest plays, Eastern Kentucky against Purdue. I'm just not laying these big numbers. You know that. I only lay them in certain situations. I laid one yesterday with Oklahoma, and they actually did not cover for me. Very frustrating in that matchup yesterday, but we did get it. We did get it with the Maryland Coppin State game. I just don't like laying large numbers. I don't think Purdue is coming out and pounding here. I think they're getting ready for the Maryland matchup. They lost their first conference game to Northwestern, so they're all going to be about Maryland away and Illinois now with the unknown with Terrence Shannon. I just think 30 is a lot. I expect Purdue to be up. They'll probably be up by 20 at halftime, and the question is, will they cover 30? The answer is no. Not one of my top plays, but covering these big numbers, especially with players where you know they're going to want to rest and get ready for the subsequent game, which is coming up on Tuesday. It's a quick turnaround for Purdue here. I don't think this is going to be a massive, massive slaughter. Maybe 25, maybe 26 will take those points. I can't believe I'm going back to Iowa, but I am, because Northern Illinois is horrific, and the Iowa game has not come yet, the game where they really just all click. They don't look strong. They lost 3 in a row to Purdue, Iowa State, and Michigan, but they did start to get going here. They scored 88 on neutral against Florida A&M. They scored 103 against UMBC, but they did not cover. But UMBC can create a lot of shots up and down the court with their fast tempo, and that is not, I don't think, what you're going to get with Northern Illinois. They don't make their free throws. They don't turn you over whatsoever, so Iowa should have very, very comfortable time on offense at home. And Iowa scores at home. They get up and down the floor, and if you don't turn them over and give them comfort, they should be able to post a big number. If they get to 90, the question is, can Iowa get over 70 to 73? I don't think so, and I wouldn't be surprised. Eastern Kentucky, rather, can they get 73? I wouldn't be surprised to see if Iowa actually got to 100 in this matchup. I don't like it, but I'm going to lay the points here. I'm also going to lay the points at Minnesota against Maine. Dawson Garcia is back tonight. Looks like he's going to play. Minnesota has struggled the last couple games without their full complement of players. They've been moving players in and out, but they still have been able to win. They are 1-1 here in the Big Ten. They do have Michigan away coming up, which is a big battle, but Maine is just not at the level that they normally are. Their offense isn't good. They're turning the ball over. Minnesota is great on the interior. They hold opponents to top 30%, 44% from inside the arc. Maine has to score their points from inside the arc. They generate 57% of their points made from inside the arc, so they are not a great three-point shooting team. They only score 24% of their points from beyond the arc, and they only shoot 29% from beyond the arc. So they don't shoot a lot, and they don't make a lot. So in order for Maine to stay close in this game, they have to score in the interior. With Garcia back, I think that's a no-no. I'm taking Minnesota minus 13.5 against Maine. ETSU plus 8.5 against East Carolina. I am taking ETSU plus the 8.5. When I saw this line, I did the numbers. I'm like, that's an awful lot for East Carolina to be favored by. As much as East Carolina has played well, they tend to play close games. Florida 5 lost. South Carolina 6 lost. Maryland Eastern Shore, who is not even close to as good as East Tennessee State, that game was only 11. So I don't believe East Carolina, who is a poor free throw shooting team, who do not have great defensive metrics, who don't make a lot of threes, I don't think that they're going to be able to cover this number against East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State, under first-year coach Brooks Savage, still adjusting, but has seen some recent developments where they have played well. They were at Cleveland State. They only lost by 2. Their overall numbers are bad. This just feels like too many points here to lay with East Carolina at home. I just don't trust them. That's why we're going there. I like Radford. This shouldn't surprise you. I also like Clemson. Frank Brank and I were talking in the Discord here at FTN about what we really feel about Clemson, because as much as people want to fade Brad Brownell, Clemson's metrics look pretty good. They have good three-point shooting, etc. But Radford is a very difficult opponent and one that people really struggle to play against. So Clemson right now is 10-1. They did lose to Memphis by 2 away, but outside of that, they've been pretty darn good. They're shooting 39% from three-point range. They're shooting 55% from inside the arc, and they defend well inside the arc. But Radford is a very stingy team. They beat Bucknell. They beat West Virginia. They played James Madison and only lost by 3. VCU was a rough one where they lost by 20, but they played North Carolina and covered for us to start. They have played top-tier opponents. They are not going to be intimidated. Darius Nichols does a very good job. They are great at defending the three, holding opponents to 29%, so that should limit some of the production from Clemson. And they're also great at shooting a three themselves, 36.7%. And Radford likes to play at that Virginia-esque slow pace. So slowing the game down, defending the three well, making a couple threes with some variance, getting the points, all of those things add up to a cover. We'll take Radford plus 15.5. I'm fading Johnny Dawkins with Bethune-Cookman. The one thing about Bethune-Cookman that I really like is that they are strong in terms of pressure on the ball. They are 4th best at turnover rate. I don't trust UCF. UCF here at home is a little frisky. They're just 500 against the spread, which is what Bethune-Cookman is. So you had UCF play Florida A&M, only won by 13. They beat a Maine team who I think really struggles. But outside of that, we've seen the ups and downs, the lost at home to Stetson, those sort of matchups here. So Bethune-Cookman is in Florida, is in Daytona Beach, in the state. They're going to be fired up. Metrics don't look great, but they're good in defensive turnovers, and they also make a decent amount of their free throws, over 70%. So I'll take Bethune-Cookman plus 23.5 against UCF. I've been really impressed with St. Joe's this year. They look fantastic. St. Joe's needs this game, and I think they're going to be very ready to play. 9-3 overall. They're starting Rhode Island in the A-10. Billy Lang has himself a squad. He probably has the best team he's had at St. Joe's. They're coming off a tough loss to Charleston by 7 away. They're going to want revenge in that game. They're going to want to bounce back. Here's a loyal Maryland team that is not good. Also, St. Joe's, good at defending the three, good at defending the arc, plays at a decent pace. I think they blow this one out by 20. I don't trust Loyola Maryland. I don't think it's a look-ahead spot. Loyola Maryland coming off a great win over St. Mary's of Maryland, a non-Division I opponent. Outside of that, their only win was away at Brown this year. Loyola Maryland 1-10, 64% from the free throw line. One of the worst turnover teams on offense in all of college basketball. Check. Give me St. Joe's minus 17.5. Northern Kentucky at Purdue, Fort Wayne. Let's not bury Northern Kentucky yet. Northern Kentucky is still the class of this league. They do a great job in the horizon. Darren Horn has been there forever, and he's always very strong. They're coming off a game against St. Mary's, which was a rough loss, but this is a team that has had good performances this year and has battled and has really come up close in an Akron game at home, Illinois State game away. I think they keep this game close. In every game in Northern Kentucky and Purdue, Fort Wayne, the last couple matchups have always been close here in the horizon. Northern Kentucky is 2-0 in the horizon. Purdue, Fort Wayne is 2-0 in the horizon. This is a big matchup, but look at last year's matchups with Northern Kentucky. You ended up having Purdue, Fort Wayne losing at home by 13 in that first matchup. Then you had Purdue, Fort Wayne losing by 20 away in the prior matchup. The year before, they lost by 10 away in that matchup to Northern Kentucky, and they played Northern Kentucky earlier. They ended up winning by about 10. So these games tend to be close. I believe in Darren Horn. I believe in Northern Kentucky. It's a close game here. We lost that one with Oakland last night against Cleveland State. It's a very similar type of game, but Oakland was down early and kept it close. If Purdue, Fort Wayne does not pull ahead early, I like Northern Kentucky here. This is a classic bounce back spot. Stetson and Charlotte have played earlier this year. Stetson ended up going to Charlotte and lost by 23 points away on December 5th. So we've seen these spots in college basketball time and time again. The teams have played a couple weeks ago. One team got blown out. Then they come back. Why is Stetson only catching 3.5 when they lost by 20? Because Stetson's going to adjust. Everything in parity regresses to the mean, just like we saw with Troy and Eastern Kentucky. It's the same situation here. I will take 3.5 points with Stetson against Charlotte. Charlotte under Aaron Fern, new coach, slow pace, good on defense inside the arc, not great defending the three. The points are going to be at a premium, and both teams end up going into their conference play next week. So we'll take the points here at home in a sort of home and home spot where the team bounces back after a big loss in the first one. I've been impressed with Evansville this year. I think they've played well. No one is talking about them. They're now going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati started off really strong, but has sort of leaked a little bit here lately. After dominating and being 7-0, coming off a 37-point win over Florida Gulf Coast, they lost away at Xavier Crosstown Shootout, no shame. They come home to Bryant. That game was really close for a while, and they ended up pulling away. Dayton semi-home got destroyed by 14. Merrimack at home won by 16, did not cover. Stetson at home won by 8. So we're starting to see Cincinnati regress a little bit. Here comes an Evansville team under David Ragland. Third year now with Evansville, 10-2 overall. They've won 3 straight games. Bellarmine, big win, hung 98 on Tennessee Martin, hung 82 on Tennessee Tech. Evansville, Indiana, going to Cincinnati tonight. Good free throw shooting team, doesn't turn the ball over, great on the defensive boards, a lot of points. I'll take Evansville plus 17.5. UNC Asheville has played very well of late. You know we like them to start, and they did not look good to start the season. They were a fade. But over the last couple games, they've played better. Kennesaw State away, overtime loss. Western Carolina, good team, hung in that game away. Auburn was rough on a neutral, but then beat South Carolina State, beat App State by 13 away, the win of the year for UNC Asheville, and beat Kennesaw State at home by 9. They're starting to turn a corner. They always shoot the 3 well, 36% from beyond the arc, going against UAB here. It's a look-ahead game for UAB, who's going to start the AAC tournament conference schedule coming up soon. So I will take UNC Asheville, who has been very hot. It's now up to 7, unless there's an injury and like Drew Pember's out. I'm going to roll with them here. If UMBC cannot win this game, then what game are they going to win? American is horrific here and has not played well. American is 5-7. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Virginia Tech, Harvard, St. Francis at home, St. Joe's, forget about it. They're one of the 10 worst teams at defending inside the arc, allowing 55.2%. UMBC now home certainly hasn't looked good. 5-9. 4 straight losses, play at the second fastest pace in the entire country here next to Kennesaw State. I like them here against American. If not now, then when? I am taking UMBC plus 1.5. New Orleans is not a good team that wants to face pressure. They want to go against a team like a Loyola Chicago, who they almost beat at Loyola Chicago earlier this year. We got that pick right as 17-point dogs because they don't get pressure. Stephen F. Austin is going to give you pressure. Stephen F. Austin is going to pressure you into turnovers, and that's going to be a problem for New Orleans. New Orleans is a live team when you can let them get comfortable on offense. They are not a live team when they're turning the ball over. They're terrible at defending inside the arc. They're terrible on offense, terrible from the three-point line, 29%. And New Orleans, the Privateers, are actually top 10 with teams only shooting 63% from the free throw line against them. That is not going to happen against Stephen F. Austin. I am taking the Lumberjacks to get up early and run away in this game. Next game, UNCG plus 15.5 versus Texas. Texas is always a fade for me. Now they're coming in. We have to see what Texas is. Dylan Dessou is back. Is he playing better? That's something that people have always been focusing on. So the question is, how are they going to do here? Texas is coming up with a matchup against UT Arlington, and then they get into the Big 12 conference tournament here. But UNC Greensboro is coming in here under Mike Jones, very frisky. They beat Delaware on a neutral. They played Arkansas and won by 6 away. That was a big game for UNC Greensboro. Vanderbilt away. They're not going to be scared. They're a great team. They don't turn the ball over, top 10 in the country, 37% from outside the arc. This is a good spot for them. 15.5 is a lot. I'm going to take those points. I also like San Diego State here at plus 6.5 against Gonzaga. Gonzaga just is not the same to me. They got blown out by Connecticut. They lost away to Washington. Yes, they're home here. They got the regular schedule coming up, so you're going to get a good effort, but they just don't seem to be the same type of team. They struggle on scoring. You know Graham Ike's inside, but San Diego State is going to be able to put a body on Graham Ike. They're going to be able to limit him. If Graham Ike is not scoring baskets for this Gonzaga team, the perimeter players are not going to be able to score. Ben Gregg isn't going one-on-one. He's not getting to the basket, so they need Ike to be productive. I think Graham Ike will dominate in the West Coast Conference. I think he will open up shots for everyone else, but I think the Aztecs with their length are going to be able to defend him inside. And then the question is, how is Gonzaga going to score consistently on the perimeter if Graham Ike is not dominating inside. That's the problem. 6.5 is too much. And the last game, I believe in California here against Arizona. Arizona has shown some warts recently. You look at California, they're 4-7. You look at California under Mark Madsen, they lost 4 games in a row to drop to 2-5. But they battled that Butler away in 2 overtimes, never easy. They played Mississippi. It was really close. They lost by 10. And California ended up beating UC San Diego by 4 after getting hot early, because you can have a guy like Jalen Cone who can take over the game here. This is the opener of the Pac-12 conference for these teams. Madsen is a good coach. He gets the team ready. They're great on the offensive boards. I don't think Arizona is winning by 13 points. If they win, I think it's a 5 to 8 point win. I will take the 13.5 points with Arizona. Let's get to some comments and questions here. Ben, you see Purdue minus 28. Is that playable? It's up to you, Ben. If you have to tell me whether you think they're going to be hot from the outside and get up early and stay early. I just hate laying that amount of points. If it gets 25, I'd be fine. But 30 to me is the opposite way. And again, sometimes you look at these metrics and it doesn't make sense. There was no logical reason to take Coppin State last night against Maryland, except for the fact that it's a proximal rivalry. And I don't think Maryland puts people away. Can Purdue do it? Yes, they can. But you have to think that they're going to make shots today. Yep, we got Ryder PSU already started. I thought we had some time there to get that in. Hopefully you get a live line if you want. William asked about Washington State versus Utah. Any thoughts? I did look at this one. I stayed away from it for a couple reasons. Utah under Craig Smith looks very good. Teams, though, are not making free throws against them. I like Kyle Smith. I think he's a really good coach. They are great on defense as well. So as much as the Utah-Colorado double trip is always tough for teams to make here, I don't want to lay it with Washington State and Kyle Smith, so I stayed away. I would probably grab the points, even though Utah has looked really good this year. Brandon Carlson's been great, and they can get smoking hot from three-point range. But if Washington State brings that three-point defense, I think they can keep this game close. So that's where I'm at. I'm just not sure. Channing's in the house. He's on Utah himself. That's fine, Channing. I think it's a reasonable play. I just didn't feel comfortable to me as well. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have a whole slew of games. We have a ton of them. We're going to be fired up and ready to go. Remember, we're still cruising here at 60% over the last 7-8 shows. We've been doing fantastic. We're going to keep it going. We're going to march to get to March here, get that 1 unit, which we're well ahead right now, and get to the 100 units as we're rolling and we get here. I'm Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer on X at Randle Rant. See you again tomorrow, 10:30 with Gus Kearns. We're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to get to the window.